want to see that because it's a little bit over the top and it's, you know, blood, and some people look down at stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it is a fight. It is the fight game. It's going to build the hype even more. Yeah, of course, it'll increase interest and eyes on the fight.
He's an emotional being. Gets into the moment, forgets himself. You can see, excuse the bad language, but this is, you know, when you see that, this is the moment when he realised he beat up. It was that, you know, when John had done it, oh shit, what have I done? But he had to own it. I think the pressure was on. The pressure is now on John to behave himself. He's distracted.
Hey John, you see it? You see it?
How did they get cut from that?
I don't know, they both did. There you go.
What, from pushing against each other?
Come down here! Come down here! Come on! Come down here! Come down here! Boom you! I'll boom you! I'll beat me face to face. I'll eat Froch alive and I'll eat Bellew alive. And by the way, Bellew got his ass handed to him by a bantamweight when he was young, called Michael.
Don't come anywhere near me, nowhere in the vicinity within my jab, or you will be getting ironed out. You'll be unconscious. You'll be snoring before you hit the floor. Big John Fury, the bare knuckle champion, the fighting man. You'll be asleep before you hit the floor. So don't talk rubbish.
John Fury just destroyed his own reputation in the most embarrassing way possible, and the boxing world is absolutely tearing him apart. What started as a heated confrontation with Froch has turned into a complete disaster for the Fury camp, with everyone from Eddie Hearn to Johnny Nelson calling out his thuggish behavior. And here's the crazy part. This wasn't some backstage scuffle that got leaked. This happened in front of hundreds of people, cameras rolling, with John Fury looking like he completely lost control of himself. The backlash is so severe that even his own son's career could take a hit from this mess.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's boxing, it's family. John's John. Both goading each other. Both very personal. Both means a lot to everybody. Shouldn't have done it.
Eddie Hearn didn't hold back when he saw the footage, and his reaction tells you everything you need to know about how bad this looks. He's calling it a desperate attempt to stay relevant, basically saying John Fury is acting like a washed-up fighter who can't handle being out of the spotlight. But here's what makes this even worse. Hearn is suggesting this whole thing was calculated. Think about it. John Fury knows exactly what he's doing when he steps into these situations. He knows the cameras are there. He knows it's going to go viral. And yet he still chose to make himself look like a complete amateur in front of the entire boxing community. The question everyone's asking now is whether this was really about defending family honor, or if it's just a sad attempt to generate headlines when nobody's paying attention to him anymore.
Pressure is now on John to behave himself. He's distracted, a lot of attention and talk, and I'm quite sure someone will have a word with him at the authorities as well.
Johnny Nelson's assessment is even more brutal, and coming from someone with his experience in the sport, it carries serious weight. Nelson is basically saying that John Fury has become a liability to professional boxing, that his behavior during the confrontation crossed every line of what's acceptable in this sport. And you know what's wild about Nelson's criticism? He's not just talking about this one incident. He's pointing to a pattern of behavior that's been building for years. Every press conference, every public appearance, John Fury finds a way to make it about him and his need for attention. But this time, instead of generating excitement for a fight, he's generated disgust from the people who matter most in boxing. The respect he might have had as Tyson's father is evaporating because he can't control himself in public.
About 25 in each team. There's about 150 international media here as well in the mezzanine floor. It was still dramatic anyway. But thankfully the security did a great job as well.
But here's where it gets absolutely insane. Multiple witnesses are saying this confrontation almost turned into a full-scale brawl, with both entourages squaring up and security scrambling to prevent what could have been a massive incident. Gerald Miller and other fighters who were there are describing a scene that was seconds away from complete chaos. Picture this. You've got two groups of grown men, some of them professional fighters, facing off in a crowded venue with hundreds of spectators. One wrong move, one person throwing a punch, and you've got a riot on your hands. And all because John Fury couldn't keep his mouth shut and his hands to himself. The fact that it didn't turn violent isn't because of restraint from either side. It's because security personnel literally had to physically separate grown men who were acting like teenagers outside a nightclub.
No, not really. It's thuggish behaviour. John Fury's, it's boorish, thuggish, unedifying, unpalatable, uncouth, vulgar behaviour. Absolutely. But what do you expect from John Fury? John Fury's been in prison for gouging someone's eyes out. What did you expect him to do? Convert into a Samaritan? Is it a nice look? No. Was it a nice look over the years in boxing about so many things? This ridiculous sentimentalising of society, expecting everyone to behave in their best version of themselves.
Simon Jordan's take on this whole situation is probably the most damning, because he's calling out something everyone's been thinking, but nobody wanted to say out loud. Jordan is describing John Fury's behavior as thuggish and vulgar, and he's making the point that we shouldn't be surprised by this, because it's exactly who John Fury has always been. Here's the kicker, though. Jordan is saying that society has this weird tendency to romanticize discipline and fighting spirit while ignoring the personality flaws that come with it. Basically, we celebrate John Fury when he's being the tough father figure behind Tyson's success, but then act shocked when that same aggressive personality shows up in inappropriate situations. Jordan's argument is that you can't have it both ways. You can't praise someone for being a hard man when it benefits your narrative, then condemn them when that same hardness makes them look like a thug on camera.
He's behaved like a thug in a disgusting manner, and then he's able to just laugh it off and joke it off and say, you know what, anyone comes near me, they're going to get a headbutt. So it's kind of justified what he's done. He's been vindicated for what he's done, as in, yeah, it's okay to go around like that and behave like an imbecile, and then still laugh and joke and still threaten to headbutt me in belly. I've told you what I think about headbutting this too.
Carl Froch's response to all this is where things get really heated, because he's not backing down one bit. Froch is calling John Fury's behavior disrespectful and aggressive, but more importantly, he's calling out the way Fury allegedly laughed off serious threats while continuing to provoke the situation. Think about what that means. Froch is basically saying that John Fury was treating this like a joke while simultaneously escalating the confrontation. That's not the behavior of someone who's genuinely angry or defending his family's honor. That's the behavior of someone who's performing for the cameras and doesn't care about the consequences. Froch's frustration is obvious, and he's demanding that John Fury stay away from him, which tells you just how serious this has gotten. When a former world champion is publicly asking for distance from someone, that's not just professional rivalry anymore. That's genuine concern about safety and harassment.
To get in a man's face in front of a hall with over 500 people, what do you expect someone to do? Pushing and shoving, and we all know Big John's quick-tempered, you know what I mean? But he threw the headbutt first, so it is what it is. But I think when you're getting someone's first and you're tolerating and pushing...
Isaac Lowe, who witnessed the whole thing unfold, is describing a situation that was basically inevitable given John Fury's reputation and the environment they were in. Lowe's pointing out that when you put someone with John Fury's temper in a crowded public space with cameras and his rival present, this kind of explosion was always going to happen. But here's what's really telling about Lowe's account. He's describing the pushing and shoving as something that could have easily triggered a much larger conflict. We're talking about a situation where hundreds of people could have been caught up in violence because one man couldn't control his emotions. And the worst part? This is exactly what John Fury's critics have been warning about for years. His quick temper and need for attention were always going to lead to a moment like this. The only question was when and where it would happen.
Within my jab, or you will be getting ironed out. You'll be unconscious. You'll be snoring before you hit the floor. Big John Fury, the bare-knuckle champion, the fighting man.
John had also called out Tony Bellew, and I think Tony Bellew's even more of a psycho than Carl Froch. So, just pick your battles. Don't go near them. Just my advice. And you've got to think about all of this from Tyson Fury's point of view, right? You're preparing for the biggest fight of your life. You go into an interview for 5 minutes, come out and your dad stuck the nut on the kid from the other side out of nowhere. Let's see what he's got to say about it.
I saw some idiot chatting shit and he got banged. End of.
Chatting shit, got banged. That really sounds like the guy was in his face fucking offering him out instead of pretty much minding his own business. Good reframing there.
What a way to sell, you know. This is show business.
Yeah, he really sold the fight there, because the first undisputed title fight for the last 25 years between two undefeated fighters, one who was previously cruiserweight undisputed champion of the world as well, but we need John Fury to stick the nut on some undersized man in order to hype the fight up. I'm not really sure that was needed, but okay.
Now here's where the whole thing gets even more ridiculous. Reports are coming out that there was actually an offer on the table for John Fury to fight Carl Froch. but it wasn't taken seriously by either side. So let me get this straight, John Fury has been running his mouth for months about being willing to fight anyone, talking tough about how he'll step up and handle business. But when an actual opportunity presents itself, suddenly it's all just promotional hype. This is exactly the kind of contradiction that's making the boxing community lose respect for him. You can't spend years building a reputation as someone who backs up his words with action, then turn around and treat serious offers like publicity stunts. The boxing observers who have been following this situation are saying it perfectly. This feud has been driven by verbal confrontation and social media drama, not by any real intention to settle things in the ring like professional fighters should.
Can't do it. You honestly think if these two come together like this, well, you know what's going to happen?
So what you
I'm going to keep them.
Eddie Hearn's latest comments about keeping John Fury and Carl Froch separated reveal just how serious this situation has become from a safety perspective. Hearn isn't just talking about preventing another awkward confrontation. He's talking about heavy security protection because he genuinely believes these two men can't be trusted in the same space. Think about what that means for the sport of boxing. We've reached a point where a promoter is more worried about preventing violence outside the ring than he is about promoting actual fights. This confrontation has moved beyond professional rivalry into what Hearn is describing as a genuine public order risk. And that's not good for anybody involved in boxing, because it reinforces the worst stereotypes about the sport being full of thugs and criminals instead of professional athletes.
I'm the old man, and the old man will go to town. But there's enough young men what will sort him out for them. You want some smoke?
Roman Fury's defense of his father is probably making things worse, not better, because he's doubling down on the aggressive behavior instead of trying to de-escalate the situation. Roman is arguing that criticism of John Fury is unfair and that others are provoking the situation, but that completely misses the point of what everyone's been saying. Nobody's questioning John Fury's fighting mentality or his contributions to his son's careers. What they're questioning is his ability to conduct himself professionally in public settings. And when Roman responds to that criticism by essentially challenging Carl Froch and keeping the verbal hostility alive, he's proving that the problem isn't just with John Fury, it's with the entire family's approach to handling conflict. Boxing analysts are pointing out that this approach only increases controversy and keeps the focus on confrontation rather than sporting competition, which hurts everyone involved in the long run.
Bad behavior, Fury team, Fury father. It's problem only Fury.
Oleksandr Usyk's comments about this whole situation add an international perspective that makes the embarrassment even worse for the Fury camp. When one of the world's best heavyweight champions is pointing directly at your family and criticizing your behavior, that's not just British boxing politics anymore, that's a global reputation problem. Usyk is suggesting that the issue lies within the Fury family circle, not with outside influences or provocations from other people. Coming from someone with Usyk's reputation for professionalism and class, that criticism carries serious weight. The fact that this incident has attracted negative attention from fighters and analysts beyond British boxing shows just how damaging it's been to the sport's image. Instead of promoting competitive boxing and athletic excellence, the Fury camp has become associated with unnecessary drama and unprofessional conduct.
Of the king of the world. I think he's referring to Tyson Fury. You know, when you have kids, you know, most people, when they want to talk about their children, they might pull their mobile phone out and show a few pictures. Big John just shows you his balls. That's where they came from. If there's anyone who needs a Manscaped advert, it's fucking John Fury. Always on about
the personal attacks and mocking tone that have emerged from this whole situation show just how far things have deteriorated from anything resembling professional boxing promotion. Instead of discussing fight strategy, competition, or athletic achievement, the conversation has devolved into personality conflicts and provocative language designed to generate social media engagement. John Fury's public statements about family pride and masculinity are being turned into ammunition for his critics, who are using his own words to highlight the contradiction between what he says and how he behaves. This kind of narrative shift is exactly what boxing doesn't need. It turns legitimate sporting rivalries into reality TV drama that makes the entire sport look unprofessional.
I think Tyson has bipolar.
Johnny Nelson's analysis of how this confrontation might backfire on John Fury is particularly interesting, because it suggests that Carl Froch could come out of this looking better by comparison. Nelson is pointing out that while the confrontation might have served a promotional purpose by generating headlines and keeping fans talking, it's also exposed John Fury as someone who prioritizes spectacle over sport. And here's the thing that Nelson's getting at: when you build your reputation on being the tough guy who backs up his words, but then your actions make you look like a desperate attention seeker, you lose the respect that made you relevant in the first place. Froch doesn't need to respond with the same level of aggression to win this exchange. He just needs to point to John Fury's behavior and let it speak for itself.
That subscribe button, or forgot to hit that subscribe button, please hit the subscribe button. It's really important. It will help grow the channel. I am trying to chuck different types of content.
The eyewitness accounts of John Fury moving directly toward the confrontation reveal something really disturbing about his mindset during this incident. Multiple people are saying that nobody knew what John Fury actually intended to do if he had reached Carl Froch, which means even he might not have known what he was planning. That's not the behavior of someone who's in control of their emotions or thinking strategically about the consequences of their actions. That's the behavior of someone who's completely lost in the moment and acting on pure impulse. The fact that this happened during what was supposed to be a professional press conference makes it even worse, because it shows that John Fury can't separate his personal feelings from his professional responsibilities. Boxing observers are right to be concerned about safety at media events when someone with his influence and platform is behaving this unpredictably.
Josh Kelly to Nick Ball lose in a close one last week, which was a great night in Liverpool. Wood Warrington this week, the rematch in Nottingham, can't wait to be there. March is absolutely laden with great fights, April. So big fight nights ahead on DAZN. Enjoying my TalkSport slot on a Tuesday with Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent. And
some people in boxing are trying to frame this whole situation as entertainment and promotional culture, suggesting that John Fury and Carl Froch are just natural showmen who know how to generate publicity. Adam Smith and others are arguing that we should view the confrontation as part of boxing's tradition of colorful characters and heated rivalries. But here's the problem with that perspective. There's a difference between professional trash talk and genuine hostility that threatens public safety. When you have security personnel scrambling to prevent violence, when you have witnesses describing a situation that was seconds away from a brawl, that's not entertainment anymore. That's a liability. Modern boxing does blend sport with entertainment, and strong personalities do keep audiences engaged, but there has to be a line between generating excitement and creating genuine danger.
So technically proficient, he's so good. Look at his amateur record, over 235 amateur fights, lost a handful of them fights. If you look at Tyson Fury's amateur record, I think he's had about 35 fights and also lost a handful of them fights. So in the amateurs,
the discussion about a potential fight between John Fury and Carl Froch reveals just how complicated this situation has become from a business perspective. Spencer Oliver and other analysts are pointing out that even at 48 years old, Carl Froch still has the physical condition and competitive mentality to be dangerous in any kind of confrontation. But the fact that John Fury has also had confrontational moments with other legends like Lennox Lewis shows that this isn't really about settling a specific rivalry. It's about John Fury's need to insert himself into conflicts with established names in boxing. Fans might enjoy debating who would win in a hypothetical fight, but the conversation itself shows how the focus has shifted away from legitimate sporting competition toward personality-driven drama that may never actually be resolved in the ring. So here you have it. John Fury's confrontation with Carl Froch has exposed him as someone who prioritizes attention over professionalism, and the boxing community is making it clear that this kind of behavior has no place in the sport. What started as a heated exchange has turned into a reputation-destroying moment that could have long-term consequences for the entire Fury families standing in boxing. This isn't just about one bad day or one moment of poor judgment. It's about a pattern of behavior that's finally caught up with someone who thought he could act however he wanted without facing real consequences. Here's my question for you, drop it in the comments. Do you think John Fury's behavior is hurting Tyson's career and legacy? Or is this just the price of having a family that refuses to back down from anyone? If this breakdown helped you understand what's really happening behind the scenes in boxing, smash that like button, subscribe for more boxing drama and analysis, And hit that notification bell because this story is far from over. I'll see you in the next one.